It doesn't matter if your preferred tech expert claims that only a fool would purchase an iPhone, or that your IT friend claims her Android phone is the greatest of the best and that the other guy is a dummy. That is selecting a tribe rather than a piece of technology. The plain fact is that Android-powered smartphones and iPhones both offer advantages and disadvantages, regardless of tribe loyalty or marketing savvy. Having said that, next is how some crucial features of the smartphone experience compare between Apple and Android phone. I have to start by saying there is no one proper answer if you want to make a reasonable decision between an iPhone and an Android phone based on the technical specifications. Furthermore, comparing operating systems by themselves doesn't reveal anything, which further complicates issues. Ease of use. Apple products simply work, as people are fond of saying. The iOS interface is undoubtedly simple to use, but the Android user interface is also. Actually, you won't have any trouble using either if you can use one. Yes, the iPhone dominated Windows Mobile and Nokia Symbian phones when it first debuted, and it still does today. It was then. Right now, all phone interfaces today are more user-friendly and superior than they were back then. Control seems to be the main distinction. Compared to Apple phones, Android smartphones allow you a lot more control over your device and its applications. Control is what I enjoy. If you're content with what Apple offers, here is your home screen. Add a photo if you want to be unique, then good for you. However, I prefer the freedom to customize my phone however I see fit. I can do it using an Android phone. Fit, finish, and price. Some are just as appealing as the iPhone 13, including the top-tier Samsung S22 Plus and the Google Pixel 6 Pro. Apple ensures that iPhones have excellent fit and finish by overseeing every stage of the production process. But so do the leading producers of Android smartphones. However, some Android smartphones are merely unsightly. This is partly because Apple only produces high-end smartphones. An inexpensive iPhone will never exist. Your only option is to purchase a second-hand iPhone if you don't want to spend top dollar for one. But let me remind you that regardless of how attractive the outside of a phone may be, you'll undoubtedly hide it inside an unattractive, robust case if you want to keep it secure. Nobody will likely describe an OtterBox case as being lovely. However, it safeguards my pricey phone, which is essential. For less than $300, you can get a decent Android phone. Although they may not be the most attractive phones, they function just as well and cost a fraction of what an iPhone does. Closed versus open systems. The iPhone is still as exclusive as ever. That's okay if you don't want anything that you can't purchase from Apple in your pocket. But bear in mind that as long as you own an iPhone, you will always and forever be restricted to the Apple software ecosystem. Your options to purchase or play the popular Fortnite game are severely constrained when Apple and Epic, the game's developer, disagree on how to handle payments. Open source software includes Android. Additionally, alternative applications are accepted much more readily. Additionally, Apple doesn't and probably never will migrate its apps to Android. iMessage is the most popular and frustrating of these iPhone-only apps. My buddies who use it are devoted users. However, it has a significant unpleasant issue. It cannot be used with other texting platforms. Yes, it is possible to send SMS messages to Android messaging apps. However, doing so results in the loss of several popular functions. Meanwhile, most users won't even be aware of it, unless, as in the case of Fortnite, a software company's battle with Apple directly impacts a program they enjoy. But Android is the only option if you prefer open versus closed systems. AI and voice assistants. There is no contest between Google Assistant and Siri when it comes to victory. Google Assistant wins by a wide margin. More than just a great voice interface for Google search, Google Assistant is a powerful tool. Google Assistant can simplify your life if you use Google products like Google Calendar and Google Maps. Let's say you have a lunch meeting downtown and the traffic is terrible. When Google Assistant determines that you must leave early to make your appointment, it will let you know in advance. That's awesome. Despite being the first on market, Siri is still quite simple. Although it works well for answering inquiries, it is not a very clever AI helper. However, Google Assistant isn't a compelling reason to select one OS over another, because iPhones can also access it. Timely updates. On the other side, when it comes to software updates, Apple outperforms Android handily. All phones, those that are still supported, at least, receive the most recent update or patch whenever Apple publishes it. It's all about crossing your fingers and hoping for the best with Android phones. That's because Google provides the base operating system and some bundled programs, whereas the iPhone is completely under Apple's control, and it is up to the phone manufacturer to offer upgrades and patches. There is a good possibility that you will receive the fixes on time if you use a high-end phone. You probably won't even get a security fix for many of the other Android cell phones, though. Nearly 3/4 of Android smartphones, according to Skycure, a mobile threat protection firm, are using outdated security. The fact that this number is so low genuinely surprises me. 90% of Android devices, I would have assumed, used outdated software. Security. It's not so much that Android lacks security as it is because Google is less strict than Apple about which apps it lets into its App Store. Only downloading apps from the Google Play Store is the greatest approach to prevent malware from infecting your Android device. However, according to Google, malware is present in 0.16% of all programs. But be careful not to overconfidence if you use an iPhone. There is a phone virus there, simply waiting to be downloaded by a cocky user. In general, iPhones are built to be more secure. If you believe you can trust Apple with your privacy, that is. While Apple isn't universally seen as trustworthy, Google also receives criticism for not being reliable when it comes to personal information. For instance, Apple recently acknowledged that iOS 15 occasionally collected users' Siri chats. Peripherals. I'm not sure about you, but I frequently attach my phones to other devices. In this case, Android is superior. Since all Android devices have standard USB ports, you can connect a wide variety of devices to your phone. You need a device that can connect to the iPhone's exclusive Lightning port. Another benefit of Android is that USB gadgets and cables are less expensive than their Lightning port-using siblings. I might be a dinosaur, but I like cell phones with a headphone jack. I feel that losing costly AirPods is all too simple. Therefore, I'll always choose for a reliable, affordable wired headset. Battery life and charging. Because Android phone models vary so much from one another, battery life is difficult to evaluate. Android phones, in my experience, don't require as frequent charging as iPhones, especially when using Motorola, Samsung, or Google phones. Considering that your charge may differ based on the phone you have and how you use it, let's declare a draw. Cloud integration. No matter if I'm attempting to utilize Apple's iCloud on an iPhone or a Mac, it continues to be a huge hassle for me. It always goes wrong. I'm not the only one having issues with iCloud, either. On the other hand, Android is closely connected with Google's programs and services. I frequently use Google Apps for both business and play. Android is without a doubt the best platform for integrating with the cloud.